and welcome to Comics with Jose. My name is Jose. I love comics and I want to share them with you. Follow me on Twitter at Art of J Velez, on Instagram at jvelez622. We're going to review some comics that I like, that I love, and some that I don't like or love. I own all the comic books that I am showing. Even though we're going to be looking at them digitally, I actually have copies of every single comic book that we are going to review. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening. Hello, and welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me. If you're still here and you follow me from the beginning, you've put up with a little bit of my awkwardness and my newness to this. This is something I do for fun and just kind of just talk about these comic books that I love. But making conversation by yourself is a little difficult, but I'm trying. So I want to thank you so much for listening and sharing this love that I have for this medium and for these characters and artists and writers. Today we're gonna go and review Thor 342 from 1984, written and penciled by the one and only Walter Simonson, lettered by John Workman Jr., as always. But in this issue, we actually have an inker. Now, this cover is drawn by Walter Simonson, and this is one of his best covers in this series. All his covers are really good, but this one is, I don't know, it's special. I love the guy kind of just I'm gonna see if I can make it a little bit so that you can sort of see this here. So, because I think that when you look at the entire thing, it really lets you appreciate the cover. Um, this composition, it is drawn completely by Simonson, so Simonson penciled and inked this cover himself. He does not ink the inside of this issue, but his pencils are absolutely fantastic. And this cover, like I said, is one of my favorite covers. Thor in the background, almost as if he was a ghost, and um, the our main character or our main for this issue um, guest star, I would say, um, is is in here. Like I said, this cover is absolutely fantastic. It actually reminds me a little bit of the opening in Thundercats, where Jaga kind of showed up in the introduction, and the Thundercats are in the background. So this that cover sort of reminds me of that a little bit. But this is from Thundercats is from 1985, and that issue was 1 year before Thundercats. So I doubt that it was in Simonson's mind when he did it. So we are going to begin our story here, and in Asgard, and what we have here is the realm of Valhalla. So Odin is going to join the fallen great warriors. This is the Asgardian version of heaven. Um, I love the composition. I always do. You know, when you hear me talk about Walter Simonson, um, I think the guy is an absolute wonderful, wonderful illustrator here, and he just brings it so well. So it is inked by Terry Austin. Terry Austin is quite famous for his run in Uncanny X-Men with John Byrne. Terry Austin was the premier inker during this time, so he knows what he's doing. He works with a brush, and you can see it here that he works nice thick lines. So he compliments Walter Simonson. Sometimes you kind of even forget that Walter Simonson is not inking this because he's really doing a fantastic job here. As like I mentioned, where John Workman and Walter Simonson are still the anchors of this, but we do get, like I said, we get a special guest in Terry Austin. So we have here Odin, like I said, meeting with the fallen warriors of Valhalla, and he has a premonition that they've been waiting for one more person, and they hope, they he Odin believes that that one person is coming through. So, um, like I said, Odin's a little worried at the moment for some reason, which will uh, kind of be explained later. And silly me, it doesn't appear later. Right here was he thinks that something else is coming, so he thinks that it is a signal that uh, once he arrives, that something ominous is going to happen. So back in New York, um, Thor and the crew he works with, uh, in his new cover identity, Cigar Jarlson, they're kind of just looking through all this rubble when one of the paramedics says that the girl he rescued wants to see him. So Thor goes over there. She wants to thank him. She asks him if she lives in the city. He says in Brooklyn, and wants to thank him for saving his her life. And he's like, he kind of knows what that's gonna or lead to, and says, "Yeah, that's no problem." And the guy here says, "You dope. You didn't even get her name," and he's like, No, I didn't." But he kind of says enough. He hears someone is summoning him, so he is going to decide that he's going to find out. So of course he hits his hammer, and off he goes as Thor to go see what's going on. Um, Here you can definitely see that it's not Simonson inking it, but Terry Austin, like I said, Terry Austin is highly um, sought after. So, and very popular inker during this time. He was John Byrne's inker of choice in the X Men. So, um, he is not doing a bad job, and I love artists that use or with the thick brush. It is my preferred. I just love the thick brush that he uses here. So we uh, now go back to the another realm here. So if you remember from last issue, Thor sent his ravens here, and this creature here, I know who he is, but I'm trying not to spoil. If you've been kind of following me, I've been going through all of Walter Simonson's Thor run. So I'll let you be surprised when you see him. You might not. Some of you may have already read it. This is, after all, from the 80s. But he sees them, and it decides he is going to give the first blow to against Asgard. So, and suddenly, as he always does, he Doom has been the word of choice every time he hits the hammer, or every time that he, in this case, strikes with a sword. And you can see the raven's feathers. So we are to believe that the ravens have been killed, but we'll definitely have to keep reading. So now Thor is headed to Antarctica because that is where the voice had brought him. Real quick, I want to show you the dry brush. Terry Austin here is employing a bit of a dry brush technique. I really like. I like I said, it's nice to sometimes see different people interpret Walter Simonson. Obviously, when he does it himself, it's a little bit different. because an inker is sort of interpreting, but I love seeing the dry brush here. So he is heading through Antarctica and discovers like a temperate area. Now, longtime readers of Marvel know that the Savage Land is in Antarctica. It's like a area where there's still dinosaurs and um, uh, different creatures. Um, and Thor here is surprised because he sees a village, a Viking village, and he doesn't see anyone. He does see a pot of stew. It is cold, but it is fresh, and he says it tastes pretty good. Again, you can definitely see it's not Walt Simonson inking himself, but Terry Austin is doing a good job. So he is getting closer and sees these graves. So these are all graves from Vikings, and he notices that everything points toward this direction, toward this cave. So Thor's about to head in there. Thor, of course, walks in when that door is slams behind him, all closed, and he sees all these arrows pointing at him and coming toward him. So back in Asgard, Balder is sitting here and he knows that someone's in the shadows and tell him to come out, that there's a fire for both of them. And she's asking if he wanted solitude and says it's eluded him, and he knows who she is and knows it's Carnilla. And she's basically asking what's wrong, and he's saying that the death that he has caused is still haunting him. And she tells him he should let it go because, what happened is meant to happen. And he says that is a lesson that he has yet to learn. So he is basically punishing himself, and tells him that her soldiers have left him provisions, and when he gets tired and needs a friend, that she'll be waiting for him. So, back on Earth, Thor disposes of the arrows or spears, and there's more traps. So, here some boulders are gonna fall on him. He avoids them and sees that other people have not been as fortunate as him in avoiding the traps. So Thor kind of makes his way, disposing of the traps, or as he kind of keeps going through, and kind of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. But again, this is before that. So Walter Simonson was a man ahead of his time, because I believe Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was in '89, and again this was from '84. So he finally gets through all the traps and finds a warrior, uh, and asks him who he is, and Thor introduces himself and goes to fight and removes the helmet, and he goes, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe who this is." But of course, we're going to have to wait for the revelation who it is, because Fafnir is in New York, still angry. So Fafnir is doesn't want to hide anymore and says, he can beat Thor, and he comes out screaming, demanding Thor be brought to him. Again, look at this nice thick line. Terry Austin definitely is complimentary to Simonson, and I believe this is the only time they ever worked together, from my knowledge. I know he's worked with Bob Wysack before, quite a few times, but I'm not sure if he's ever worked with Terry Austin more than one. I'll have to find out. I know most of the time Walter Simonson works with himself. On X Factor, I think he only did pencils, and I think Bob Wysack was his um, inker of choice there. But Terry Austin, not a bad job. So Lorelai is making a potion for Thor here, and real quick here, some of the stuff is saying that some of the senators are saying that Fafner, they don't know it's Fafner, but that he's a Russian, a tool of the Russians, and paleontologists have not been able to identify what he is. But she has a plan for Thor, which will be revealed at a later time. So it's now revealed that Thor was fighting an old man, and the old man wants Thor to kill him, but Thor, of course, refuses. He doesn't kill old people. So uses Mjolnir to make way to get to the surface. And once there, he takes the armor because it's too much for the old man, really. And, he says, you know, who is he? He says he's Elif, the Lost. And he didn't want to die a meaningless death, so he thought a death fighting Thor would have him go through Valhalla. And he says that they reached there because in 1066, um, which he wouldn't know because if he's been in that place all that time, he'd have no idea what year it is. But of course, this is more for us to kind of know. But in 1066, these Vikings um, were scattered and somehow made their way into Antarctica. Um, and they went through here. Um, and he's the last survivor of all of everybody. So out of all the generations that kind of lived there, he is the last of them. And he, like I said, he wanted to go into Valhalla and fighting. He didn't want to just die of old age. So Thor says there's still much to do, and um, that you know they're going to basically go in it together. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, Walter Simonson's run here is man, it's magical. I strongly recommend picking up Walter Simonson's run on Thor. It's available on trades, on many trades. So um, collect the single issues, get the trades, whatever you can do. It's really gold. It's amazing stuff. So Thor 342 from 1984, written and penciled by Walter Simonson, inks by Terry Austin, with the amazing lettering of John Workman. Like and subscribe.